Hello friends, today we will discuss one more concept, that is singularity at infinity. Singularity at infinity. You know that we can find singularity of a function at finite number, that is at z equal to z0. At z equal to z0. Now we will discuss the singularity of a function at z equal to infinity. Singularity of a function at z equal to infinity. We know that there are different types of singularities. The most of them is one, removable singularity, isolated singularity, and removable singularity. Then second, pole. The singularity is pole of order something n, and the third is what? Essential. That is non-isolated, which is not these two, that is called essential singularity. So we have seen each of these, that is removable singularity at z0, a pole of order n at z0, and the essential singularity at z equal to z0. Now we will discuss the singularity at z equal to infinity. Now this point is not definite now, it is infinite point. So this we want to discuss, and which is isolated singularity at infinity. No doubt essential singularity at infinity can be discussed. Okay, isolated singularity at infinity. F of z, we say that f of z has an isolated singularity at infinity if and only if this capital F of w, which is small f of 1 by w, this small f of z is replaced by 1 by w, which we denote it by capital F of w, has an isolated singularity at w equal to 0. So to obtain the singularity at infinity, we want to think the singularity at 0 of f of 1 by z. So first of all, to see that what is the singularity of f of 1 by z, z is replaced by what? Replace z by 1 by z. So first of all, discuss the singularity of f of 1 by z at z equal to 0, and then that will be the singularity of f of z at z equal to infinity. That is the case. So f of z has an isolated singularity at infinity if and only if f of 1 by z has an isolated singularity at z equal to 0, we can say like this. This has one another concept, another meaning is that any function f of z has an isolated singularity at infinity if and only if f of 1 by z has an isolated singularity at z equal to 0. That can be written z equal to 0. So an analytic function f of z on mod z greater than r is said to have a removable singularity, a pole of order n, or an essential singularity at infinity if and only if the function f of 1 by z has a removable singularity, a pole of order n, or an essential singularity at 0 respectively. What is the meaning of this? This function for mod z greater than r, what will happen? F of 1 by z. So in that case, your 1 by mod z will be less than r in this region. So if f of 1 by z has a singularity, isolated singularity at z equal to 0, then f of z has an isolated singularity at z equal to infinity. Similarly, if this function f of 1 by z has a removable singularity at 0, then f of z has a removable singularity at z equal to infinity. If f of z 1 by z has a pole of order n at z equal to 0, then f of z has also a pole of order n at z equal to infinity. And similarly, if f of 1 by z has an essential singularity at 0, then f of z has an essential singularity at infinity, and conversely also, and conversely also. Okay, that is the case here. So to obtain the singularity at infinity, we want to obtain singularity of f of 1 by z at 0, z equal to 0, that we want. For example, suppose we have a given f of z equal to z raised to n, and we want to discuss the singularity, which type of singularity is this of f of z. So to find that, we will obtain first of all 1 by z equal to 1 upon z to the power n, that is 1 upon z raised to n. Now we know that this 1 upon z raised to n, E has a pole of order n at z equal to 0. We know that because this expansion, it contains a finite principal part, and the order of or degree of that z is n there. So it has a pole f of 1 by z equal to 1 upon z raised to n, has a pole of order n at z equal to 0. Therefore, f of z equal to reverse, it's a reverse part, z raised to n also has a pole of order n, but at z equal to infinity, z equal to infinity. So f of z equal to z raised to n has a pole of order n at z equal to infinity. We also know that f of z equal to z raised to n has a 0 of order n at z equal to 0. But this has a pole of order n at z equal to infinity, since the corresponding capital F defined by capital F of w equal to small f of 1 by w equal to w to the power minus n, that is 1 upon w to the power n, has a pole of order n at w equal to 0. Similarly, the function defined by f of z equal to z square plus z raised to m, we want to discuss the singularity of small f at z equal to infinity. If I replace this by f of 1 by z, what you will get? If I replace this by f of 1 by z, it will get z square plus z to the power minus m. Now z square plus z to the power minus m. What about this? That is z square plus 1 upon z to the power m. So this is the principal part in this expansion, and this is the analytic part in Laurent series. So this principal part contains finite terms, and the order of means power of z is m there. Therefore, we can say that this function has an isolate, means a pole of order m at z equal to 0. A pole of order m at z equal to 0. Right? Therefore, this function has a pole of order m at z equal to infinity. Right? Similarly, this is 1 by z square. 1 by z square. What will happen? This function has a pole of order 2 at z equal to 0 also. So the function f defined by this one has a pole of order 2 at z equal to 0, because directly this is 1 by z square. So this part has a pole of order 2 at z equal to 0, right? At z equal to 0, and a pole of order m at z equal to infinity because of this. At m equal to infinity, isn't it? That is the case. Since capital F of w equal to 1 upon f of w, f of 1 upon w equal to this one. So this part has principal part, and therefore this part has a pole of order m at w equal to 0. Therefore corresponding part has a pole of order m at z is equal to infinity. Similarly, this one, this has a pole of order 2 at z equal to infinity, isn't it? Therefore this also has a pole of order 2 at z equal to 0, at z equal to 0, vice versa. So that we have written this whole function has a pole of order 2 at z equal to 0 and has a pole of order m at z equal to infinity, at z equal to infinity. Okay, that is the case. the function f of z equal to e to the power z. Okay. The function f of z equal to e to the power z has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity, since capital F of w is equal to small f of 1 by w equal to e to the power 1 by w. Now this e to the power 1 by w has an essential singularity at w equal to 0, because neither limit as w tends to 0 e to the power 1 by w exists, right? Therefore, if this limit doesn't exist, it is not a removable singularity. Also, it has not a pole of order something, because w square e to the power 1 by w, or w into e to the power 1 by w, or w to any power into e to the power 1 by w also does not exist, right? As w tends to 0. Therefore, this is neither removable singularity nor a pole of order something. Therefore, it has an essential singularity as w equal to 0. W equal to 0. Okay, and therefore this function has essential singularity at z equal to infinity. Essential singularity at z equal to infinity, because if I take z equal to infinity, e to the power infinity is infinity, that is not defined, and therefore it has a singularity. Okay, the function e to the power iz, e to the power minus z, sin hz, cos hz, sin z, cos z has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity. Why we can write the corresponding reverse function e to the power I into 1 by z. This has essential singularity at z equal to 0, because in the neighborhood of z equal to 0, there are many singularities of this function again. For example, if I take this z equal to 0.000 something like this, what will be that e to the power I of that term? Again, it will goes to 1 upon 0.000, means it will goes to infinity. Therefore, in the neighborhood of z equal to 0, there are more, again, some singularities in this function, and therefore we can say that e to the power I times 1 by z has an essential singularity at z equal to 0. Therefore, e to the power iz has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity. Similarly, e to the power minus z, if I take only minus sign, this will happen. Same will happen for that. It has an essential singularity at z equal to 0. Therefore, this has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity. Cos hz, because for cos hz also, or sin hz, sin h of 1 by z. Again, not defined at z equal to 0, and there are more singularities in the neighborhood of this also. Therefore, sin hz, sin h 1 by z, cos h 1 by z has an essential singularity at z equal to 0. Therefore, sin hz, cos hz, similarly sin z, cos z has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity each. Z equal to infinity each. Why it is like that? Because sin 1 by z, sin 1 by z also has an essential singularity at z equal to 0. Therefore, sin z has essential singularity at z equal to infinity, z equal to infinity. Every non-constant and non-vanishing function, no doubt it is an entire function, on C complex plane necessarily has an isolated essential singularity at infinity. For example, these are the examples. E to the power iz is non-constant, non-vanishing, means e to the power iz is not equal to 0 for any value of z, non-vanishing, as well as entire function, analytic everywhere. On C, this such functions necessarily has a isolated essential singularity at infinity. Isolated essential singularity at infinity. So for isolated singularity, we know that three parts are there. Removable singularity 1, then pole of order n, and then third, essential singularity. Okay. Main types are two, isolated and non-isolated singularity. For isolated singularity, we have three types, and for non-isolated singularity, we haven't seen any type up to here now. Okay, so that's why. See here, sin z is what? Non-constant function. Sin z is what? Non-zero function, means non-vanishing and entire. Okay, this is vanishing. Sin z equal to 0 for any. Okay, so these are not non-vanishing, but this is non-vanishing. So every non-constant and non-vanishing function which is entire function on C necessarily has an isolated essential singularity at infinity. Okay, that is there. Consider the one more example, f of z equal to 1 upon sin z. Now we know that we discussed the singularity of this function f at z equal to infinity, and this function is given for z not equal to k pi, because for z equal to k pi this is not known. Okay, we have not given because it becomes infinity. Okay, k belongs to z. We discuss the singularity of f at z equal to discuss the singularity, we want to change this function f of z replaced by f of 1 by z. I will call it as g of z, and it is 1 upon sine of 1 by z. Now first of all, we discuss the singularity at z equal to 0 of this function, right? Now g is not analytic at origin again, because at z equal to 0, sine of 1 by sine infinity becomes, and it is not defined. Therefore g is not analytic at origin, since every neighborhood of origin contains singularity. Every neighborhood of contains singularity, means in the neighborhood of z there is a point at which sine of that point is 0. Every neighborhood of z equal to 0. If I take z equal to 0, what about neighborhood? 0.5 to minus 0.5. If we take all these values, 1 upon 0.2, 1 upon minus 0. So we get 1 upon 0.5, means what? If we get 10 by 5, we get 2. So minus 2 to plus 2. So if we take the value of theta as minus 2 to plus 2, then there is a singularity of this whole function at z equal to 0. Because in this sine of, if there is a value lies between these two, right? Pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. At every point this is sine 0 is 0. Sine of that value is 0. Isn't it? So this will be there. Okay. Minus 2 to plus 2. There is a again one singularity of this function. So g of z has a pole at point z equal to 1 upon k pi. Has a pole at the point z equal to 1 upon k pi. Okay. For this function, it has a pole of order 1, simple pole at z equal to 1 upon k pi. Why we can write this? Because if I take limit as z tends to k pi, 1 upon sine of 1 by z, it will be finite. So z equal to 0 is not an isolated essential singularity for gz, as z equal to 0 is a limit point for its pole at 1 upon k pi. K belongs to z. Okay, that is the case. Thus f of z is not analytic in mod z greater than r for any r greater than 0, and infinity is an non-isolated essential singularity for f of z. Okay, this should be there. If f of z is not analytic in mod z greater than r for any r greater than 0, then infinity is non-isolated essential singularity for f of z. So essential singularity may be isolated, may be non-isolated. This implies infinity is a non-isolated essential singularity of e to the power z minus 1 to the power minus 1, because it has what? 1 upon e to the power z minus 1 is there. Now this function has an essential singularity at z equal to 0, right? And therefore non-isolated essential singularity z equal to infinity is the non-isolated essential singularity for e to the power z minus 1 to the power minus 1, right? It is like that, z equal to infinity, because at z equal to infinity we cannot define this function. Similarly, suppose gz is z inverse 1 plus z to the power minus 1, 1 upon z into 1 plus z. Replace z by 1 by w. So g of 1 by w, I will write equal to w into 1 by z as w into 1 upon 1 plus 1 by w. That can be written as w into 1 upon w plus 1 upon w. This w cancels, or this can be written as w square upon 1 plus w. We'll get w square upon 1 plus w. And what will happen here? G is analytic at w equal to 0. At w equal to 0, denominator is non-zero. So G is analytic at w equal to 0. Hence, G is analytic at z equal to infinity. W equal to 0, it is analytic. Therefore, at z equal to infinity, its revert part is analytic. Similarly, 1 upon 1 plus z, z upon 1 plus z, e to the power 1 by z square, all are analytic at infinity because it's a reverse. Means if I replace 1 upon 1 plus 1 by z, which is equal to 1 upon z plus 1 by z equal to z upon 1 plus z. This function is analytic at z equal to 0. Therefore, this function is analytic at z equal to infinity because limit at z tends to 0 exists here and value at z equal to 0 also exists. What is f of 0 here? F of 0 is 0 and limit also 0 because 0 upon 1 plus 0 you will get 0. So this function is analytic at z equal to 0. Since this function replacing z by 1 by z is analytic at z equal to 0, therefore 1 upon 1 plus z is analytic at z equal to infinity. Similarly, this one z upon 1 plus z. What will be its reverse part? Its reverse part becomes 1 by z upon 1 plus 1 by z. What is 1 by z upon 1 plus 1 by z? So you will get 1 by z upon z plus 1 upon z. Z cancel. We get only 1 upon 1 plus z. And now for this function is analytic at z equal to 0 because limit at z equal to 0 exists as well as f of 0 also exists. So continuous, its derivative can be obtained at z equal to 0. What will be its derivative? 1 upon 1 plus z square, and for z equal to 0 we can find it is minus 1. So this function is analytic. 1 upon 1 plus z is analytic at z equal to 0. Therefore z upon 1 plus z is also analytic at z equal to infinity. And similarly for this, e to the power 1 upon z square. If I replace, we get e to the power z square. E to the power z square is analytic at infinity. And therefore e to the power 1 upon z square, as e to the power z square is analytic at z equal to 0, e to the power z square is analytic at z equal to 0 because at z equal to 0 this is 1 and limit is also 1. Similarly, its derivative is obtained at z equal to 0. What about derivative? E to the power z square, we get e to the power z square into 2z. This derivative is defined at z equal to 0 also. This value becomes 0 there, not infinity, and therefore this function is analytic at z equal to 0. Therefore e to the power 1 by z square is analytic at z equal to infinity. Now let g of z equal to z raised to 4 sine of 1 upon z plus 1 has a pole of order 3 at z equal to infinity. Since now if I replace this by 1 by z or z by 1 by w, we get 1 upon w to the power 4 sine of 1 upon 1 by w plus 1, which is equal to 1 upon w to the power 4 sine of w upon w plus 1. Now sine of w upon w plus 1 divided by w upon w plus 1 into 1 upon w cube into w plus 1, rearrangement. Now as w tends to 0, this limit is 1. And what about here? 1 upon w cube into 1 plus w means what? This is 1 upon w cube plus 1 upon w square. So this series has only finite part, that is negative parts of powers of z. So this is w square and this is w cube. So highest order is 3 here. Therefore this function has a pole of order 3 at w equal to 0, and therefore given function has a pole of order 3 at z equal to, here for this it has at w equal to 0. Therefore it has a pole of order 3 at z equal to what? Infinity. At z equal to infinity. So in this way you can discuss the singularity at infinity also. Singularity of infinity. We have one more important result, that is called Casorti-Weierstrass theorem. What theorem says that if f has an essential singularity at z equal to 0 and if w0 is a given finite complex number, then there exists a sequence Zn with Zn tends to z0 such that f of Zn equal to w0. What is this result? If f has an essential singularity at z0 and if w0 is a given finite complex number, then there exists a sequence Zn with Zn approaches to Z0. Zn approaches to Z0 such that f of Zn tends to with Zn tends to Z0 such that f of Zn tends to W0. Okay. So if f has an isolated singularity as an essential singularity at Z0, and if W0 is a given finite complex number, then there exists a sequence Zn with as Zn tends to Z0, f of Zn tends to W0. What is the meaning of this? F takes values arbitrary close to every complex number in every neighborhood of an essential singularity. Okay, so f takes a value W0, that is complex value, for every complex number Zn in the neighborhood of an essential singularity Z0. Zn approaches to Z0 means what? These are the terms in the neighborhood of Z0. In that case, f of Zn will be close to any complex number W0. Okay, we'll prove it. Since f has an isolated singularity at Z0, f of z is analytic throughout deleted neighborhood of Z0. F of z is analytic throughout. If we remove that singularity, then f of z is analytic throughout deleted neighborhood of Z0. Suppose that there exists a complex number W0 and a sequence Zn with Zn tends to Z0 such that f of Zn does not tends to W0. On contradiction method we are applying here. What to show that? As Zn tends to Z0, we have to show that f of Zn tends to W0. If this is not possible, on contrary, suppose f of Zn does not tends to W0 as Zn tends to Z0. What will happen? Then there exists an epsilon greater than 0 and a delta greater than 0 such that mod of f of z minus W0 is greater than or equal to that number. If f of Zn tends to W0, then we know that there for every epsilon 0, epsilon non-negative, there exists a non-negative number such that mod of f of z minus W0 is strictly less than epsilon. But if it's not there, we will consider it is greater than or equal to epsilon for 0 is less than, means your Z0, Z lies in the annulus which is apart from 0, means annulus is like this. This is your Z0 and so this part, this is your 0 minus 0 less than mod Z minus Z0 less than delta, and this radius is your delta. Okay, that is the case. Now define g of z by 1 upon f of z minus W0, because this is non-zero. As this is non-zero, 1 upon f of z minus W0 is defined. So we define g of z by that number. Hence, now what about this one? So as f of z minus W0 is greater than or equal to epsilon, therefore 1 upon f of z minus W0 will be less than or equal to something. That is g of z is bounded and analytic in the deleted neighborhood of this Z0. Deleted neighborhood disk of Z0. Thus G has a removable singularity at Z0. We know that as G is well defined. What definition we want to take? Take limit of as Z tends to Z0 of G of Z. This is 1 upon f of Z0 minus W0. So consider that as, I will consider this as f of Z0, G of Z0. In this case, function becomes analytic. That is, G has a removable singularity at Z equal to Z0. Thus, by definition of G of Z0, 1 upon f of Z0 minus W0, right? By defining G of Z0 properly means what? We will define G of Z0 by this one, 1 upon f of Z0 minus W. G becomes analytic in this disk as it is removable. Clearly, G of Z is not identically equal to 0 in this disk, because this is not identically equal. Therefore, Gz is also not identically equal. Suppose that there is a point Z0 at which function is not 0. Then f of z equal to 1 upon g of z plus W0. That is the this part. What this implies? This is f of z minus W0 equal to 1 upon g of z. So what is f of z? Equal to 1 upon g of z plus w0. F of z equal to 1 upon g of z plus w0 is analytic at z0, right? If now if gz has a 0 at z0, suppose gz has a 0 at z0, then z0 is a pole of 1 upon gz, that is of f of z, because this is a constant number, no problem. Thus f of z has either a removable singularity or a pole at z equal to z0. If gz has not 0, then it is removable singularity. If gz has a 0, then it has a pole at z equal to z0. So in either case, that singularity is either pole or removable singularity, but we have given that what is the hypothesis? F is a essential singularity at z0, but we are getting it has either removable singularity or pole of order something 1. So in both cases, this contradicts to f has an essential singularity at z equal to 0. So in either case, this contradicts to hypothesis that z0 is essential singularity. Why this obtained? Because of we have considered as zn tends to z0, f of zn not tends to w0. So this, because of this supposition, we are getting contradiction. What contradiction we are getting? F has an removable singularity, at z0, or F has a pole at z0. Both contradicts to this hypothesis. F has an essential singularity, and therefore whatever we have taken consideration, assumption, it is wrong. So what should be true? So as Zn tends to z0, f of Zn should approaches to w0, and that we want to prove here. As Zn tends to z0, f of Zn should approaches to w0. This is called Cassotty-Weierstrass theorem or Cassotty-Weierstrass theorem. Okay. So for today, we will stop here, and some other parts we will take in next lecture.